What's going on, everybody? C4 here today, continuing with the best 7-round mock draft series you're going to find here on the YouTubes. Today, it pains me to do it, but we have to. I'm going to try to be as nice as possible. We're doing the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to grade their free agency, look back at their 2016 draft, and then give our own spin on a full 7-round mock draft for those goddamn assholes in the silver and blue. So the Cowboys' record last year was 13-3. They had the 5th overall offense and the 14th overall defense. Their MVP, even though Dak got the award, I'd still have to give it to Ezekiel Elliott, even though it was a big part of that offensive line. Both, the credit for Dak and Zeke both relies on the offensive line. But because we have to give it to someone, I personally thought Zeke was more impressive than Dak Prescott was. But it looks like we're going to have one hell of a quarterback battle between Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz for the coming future. The needs for the Dallas Cowboys before free agency started, I had as corner, defensive lineman, tight end, inside linebacker, and right tackle. In free agency, they re-signed David Irving on a 1-year, $600,000 deal. Give him that a B+. I like the size of David Irving. Looks like a mini Julius Peppers out there, and I still think there's upside. They signed Nolan Carroll on a 3-year, $10 million deal. That's a D+ right there. That's terrible money for Nolan Carroll. He should not be getting paid anything more than like league minimum. Personally, I think he's a solid depth guy, but it looks like, as it says right now, he may well be a starter for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think he will start. I think they'll end up going with Scandrick and Anthony Brown, but he may be a starter. They may be in their plans as a starter, which would be unfortunate. They signed Stephen Paia, 1-year, $2 million, Mr. Bench Press record at the Combine. D+ was pretty abysmal last year with the Washington Redskins. I think that's where he was at. Not a great sign, just a depth move. They re-signed Terrence Williams to a 4-year, $17 million deal. Give it a C. Keep it all together. Terrence Williams, we know what he is. He's pretty much at his ceiling right now, but he's a solid wide receiver 3. And they re-signed Darren McFadden on a 1-year deal. I was unable to find the exact figure for that, but I guess, bring him back to the running back stable if he wants to stay. More talent back there. Constantly, they're going to rely on the run, so it's not terrible. So looking at their 2016 draft, it's going to pay me to do this, but they probably had the best drafted of any team in the NFL last year. Number 4, they got Ezekiel Elliott, which was kind of head-scratching because they had other needs. But look who's really laughing now. I don't think because of that offensive line they needed to invest the number 4 pick on a running back. But, I mean, if they didn't, and maybe they got a running back later and he didn't produce like Ezekiel Elliott, then, hindsight is a great thing. So you kind of have to say that Ezekiel Elliott pick was good. He was best running back statistically in the league last year. If you take the offensive line out of things, who knows? But you got to give it for the credit where credit is due, and it was a great pick in the first round overall. In the second round, they got Jalen Smith, who pretty much was a write-off, but I think that's tremendous value, and I'm very worried as an Eagle fan that Jalen Smith is going to come back at the strength that he was at Notre Dame. He was, a top 10 pick lock if he didn't have that, was it an ACL, I believe, or something with like a fucking, fuse injection. He had some sort of injury, exactly. What was it? I wonder what his injury was. I can't remember what it was on the top of my head, what the injury, but obviously he passed what Dallas Cowboys was looking at. There's one of those things where it was pretty much, is he going to play or is he not going to play? So a really risky pick, but it looks like he will be playing for them next year, and him and Sean Lee should be a very formidable linebacking core. Third round, they got Malik Collins, who ended up getting 5 sacks as a rotational defensive tackle from Nebraska. That was a good pick. They got Charles Tapper and Dak Prescott in the 4th round. We all know what happened with Dak Prescott. I don't want to turn this into a me bashing video, so they got their new franchise quarterback, and he beat out Tony Romo. And Charles Tapper was a tremendous value pick there in the 4th round, the defensive end from Oklahoma. I like that pick. He got thrown on IR, but he looks to hopefully make an impact in a team that needs some edge rushers next season. And then they finished up the draft with 4 6th-round picks. They got Rico Gathers, the tight end from Baylor, a converted basketball player project. Darius Jackson, who's no longer on the roster, the running back from Eastern Michigan. Kayvon Frazier, the safety from Central Michigan. Not essentially sure what he did. Probably a special teamer. But they got Anthony Brown, the corner from Purdue, was one of their best picks last year. Played a lot of snaps for them, 55 tackles, 8 pass deflections, and 1 pick. Very nice. Very impressive first season. And I think he could potentially, and should be, if you're a Cowboy fan, the other starting corner and not Nolan Carroll. But that's great value, getting the 6th round as starting corner. Definitely, in terms of value picks, right there with the Jalen Mills from the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe even better. Slightly better, I'd probably have to have Anthony Brown. But great pick there as they actually hit a bunch of home runs, and it may be regarded in history as one of the best drafts in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. So that is tough to live up to. Let's see what we can do in our 7-round mock and see if we can live up to the acclaim that their last 2016 draft got. So in the first round, pick 28, I have them going with TRE'DAVIOUS White, the corner from LSU, 5'11", 190 pounds, 4'4", 740, 16 reps on the bench press. This pro comparison is Tracy Porter, who's been a long-time tenured player. I do see a lot of similarities between him and Mo Claiborne. If they can get the Mo Claiborne that balled out last season and then cash out in free agency, you just kind of maybe ignore the game against the Packers. Great playmaker, exactly what they need. I think the Cowboys certainly need to find and add depth to their cornerback stable, especially if Nolan Carroll will be their starter. Scandrix, he's getting up there in age. He drafted in 2008. He's getting a little bit long in the tooth. I do think they have some potential in Anthony Brown, but certainly Nolan Carroll and Orlando Scandrick's not going to be there forever, and Carroll's a death guy. So I think getting the top corner available for me is their biggest need, corner and edge rush. And looking at who's still available, Trey White is very much a first, early second, probably will sneak in, as I had here in the mock draft, late first-round corner from LSU and be a big-time impact player as a rookie for the Dallas Cowboys defense. That certainly, just watching how they lost in the playoffs, they need to get better in that secondary. And he's a great big-time playmaker and might even be able to contribute a little bit on special teams, as he was a return man for the Tigers last season. Jumping to the second round, pick 60. I've been going with Montrevious Adams, the defensive tackle from Auburn, 6'4", 305 pounds, 4'8", 40, 22 reps on the bench press. This guy here, if you can get this guy motivated correctly, and as much as it pains me to say it again, I think the Dallas Cowboys are maybe one of the top teams. Looking at that goddamn DC Rod Marinelli, he gets the best out of whatever player you decide to throw into him, and I think they can look at improving the interior. Right now you got Cedric Thornton, who was a very solid Philadelphia Eagle, and you got Collins, the defensive tackle that had 5 sacks, was kind of a rotational guy. But I think that's probably going to be the best scenario for Dallas at getting after the quarterback. Having a heavy rotation on the defensive line. You have Crawford and David Irving in one defensive end spot, DeMarcus Lawrence on the other one, and you have Collins and Thornton in the middle. I think adding another guy that can get after the quarterback with a very high motor would be what best fits, because they need, like I said, defensive back and getting pressure on the quarterback. Those are the 2 areas they need to go, and Adams is going to be a monster. This guy here is maybe one of the top pass rushing defensive tackle interior presence in this year's draft class, and I think he's going to be best as a rotational tackle earlier on in his career, and then could probably develop into a starting defensive tackle, which would be a great value pick here for the Dallas Cowboys in the second round. He's a monster, man. You just got to make sure you get the most out of him, and I think Rob Marinelli is maybe as good as any other DC in the NFL at getting the most out of every one of his players. Then in the third round, pick 92, either going with Duke Riley, the linebacker from LSU, 6 feet tall, 235 pounds, ran a 4.58 40, 18 reps on the bench press, also posting very solid 3-cone and 20-yard shuttle drills. Again, another guy that a lot of scouts think can fall in the mold of a Deion Jones, who had a really good season, great season last year with the Atlanta Falcons. Again, a little bit of lack of experience there at LSU, but I do believe he would be a will in that 4-3 defense. And right now, you got Sean Lee. You might not have to have him rush in and start over Sean Lee, but I think more so Sam. Have him play a little bit of Sam, or maybe move Sean Lee around to the Sam spot to have a Sean Lee, Duke Riley, Jalen Smith potential linebacking core. That's very formidable for the Dallas Cowboys. And I think, more so than edge rush. I think a guy like Duke Riley could get out to the quarterback with his explosiveness, and not necessarily off the line. I think getting an edge rusher, which we're going to talk about in the next pick, off the defensive line is another great pick, but getting pressure from the linebacking core would be good, because Damian Wilson, Sean Lee, those guys aren't players that got to go after the quarterback, and I know that maybe that's not necessarily their role in the defense, but you need someone in your linebacking core to be able to really break into that backfield and bring the quarterback down. I don't really see it there in the Dallas Cowboys. So I think a guy like Duke Riley, a very explosive player, would probably start out as a rotational guy. He probably could live in an opposing team's backfield, if you can get the most out of him. And I don't want to keep, kind of throwing on praise to the DC there in Dallas, but Rod Marinelli is one of the best in the NFL. I think you would see a guy like Duke Riley, who many may see a project player because of his lack of experience, and you throw him in there, and you may be able to get a guy, an explosive linebacker, starting out in a rotational role that can come in and put some pressure on the quarterbacks. Jumping to the fourth round, pick 133. I've been going with Derek Rivers, the defensive end from Youngstown State. 6'4", 250 pounds, ran a 4.6 140, put up 30 reps on the bench press, a 35-inch vertical. Incredible testing at the combine. I think obviously small school project, but the protection's there, the athletic ability's there. I think it will be in that between rounds 3 and 5, depending on what you need. An edge rush is a big need for the Dallas Cowboys, as they've struggled. Tyron Crawford and DeMarcus Lawrence have, inconsistent, I guess would be the best way to describe it, pressure on the quarterback. So I think getting a big-time edge rusher here with high potential in Derek Rivers, who would definitely start out in a rotational role and hopefully be able to carve out a bigger role. But I mean, 19.5 tackles for loss, 14 sacks last year. That production, even against Youngstown State, not playing the biggest competition there, still, he's a beast. Youngstown State was one of the best teams in Div 2 last year, or whatever, NCAA 2, wherever the hell that classification is. But I do think he is a tremendous value, very high ceiling, would be excellent in a rotational role, and then could develop into a permanent full-time starter. I would say maybe 2018, maybe a year down the road. Maybe make some of those guys expendable for the Dallas Cowboys. As we know, they need to kind of work on their salary cap a little bit, especially in that dead money from Tony Romo. Jumping to the 6th round pick, 211. I've been going with wide receiver Travin Durrell from LSU. 6'1", 202 pounds, running 4.57 40. I think adding more depth to the wide receiver core would be nice for Dallas. Des Bryant is only going to start to slow down. Terrence Williams is not a great solid lock for an outside wide receiver. I think him and Bryce Butler will probably compete for that. And then you got Cole Beasley, who's one of the top slot wide receivers in the NFL. So I think really they have a big stable there of wide receivers. You got Lucky Whitehead, he's a special teams guy. Shaq Evans, Guachu, Andy Jones, Quincy McDuffie. I mean, who the hell are these guys? Bring in some depth. Travin Durrell obviously struggled with some lack of quarterback play at the LSU Tigers, but I think there is some upside there. Definitely could make a roster. And, I think definitely a project-type player, but he has some decent speed with some improvement to his ball skills. I think he can certainly carve out some minutes here as a rookie, as just a rotational guy, but maybe able to carve out a bigger role, as I think, with guys like Des Bryant getting up there in age, you may want to start planning for the future of the wide receiver spot, and having a prospect like Durrell could be, very beneficial for the Dallas Cowboys coming, 2019, maybe, looking that far ahead. So finish up, we got 2 7th round picks. First at pick 228, I've been going with Eric Sauber, the TE from Drake, the tight end from Drake. 6'5", 253 pounds, put up 22 reps on the bench press. NFL comparison is Jason Morrow, who obviously struggled a little bit in the NFL, but was a beast tight end at Texas A&M. But this guy here is, has lots of potential. Obviously, a guy with potential. What is maybe the best setup for him to go in the NFL? Oh, I don't know. Maybe go learn behind Jason Witten. I mean, they did lose Gavin Escobar, who looks pretty solid at the tight end spot. I can't remember who the other tight end they had. Someone out of Oklahoma or Nebraska. He's no longer on the roster, so I definitely think you may want to look for the next potential guy that can learn from Jason Witten, because, old man Witten's not going to be there forever. So I think a guy like Sauber, definitely one of the better project tight ends in this year's draft class. Not going to be able to start right away. I don't really know how many 2 tight end sets Dallas is going to be looking at running next year. Maybe Jeff Swain will have to fill that void for now. But I think Sauber is a guy certainly would be able to compete to try to make that final Dallas Cowboys roster. And, who knows what you can get here. But a project player, if I'm Dallas Cowboys, you have what better coach to have on the field, in the locker room, in training camp, than Jason Witten to try to get the most out of a project tight end, and that could be Saubert for the Dallas Cowboys. And then finish out the draft with pick 246 in the 7th round. I've been going with Colin Buchanan, the right tackle from Miami, Ohio. 6'5", 315 pounds. Put up 23 reps on the bench press. His pro comparison is Quinton Spain, who is a very solid guard for I think he's on Tennessee Titans, I believe. But a guy that can play all over. I do think with his athleticism, he could be a right tackle, starting right tackle in the NFL. And right tackle, with Doug Free's retirement, is pretty much open there on the Dallas Cowboys offensive line right now. You got Tyron Smith, Lael Collins, Travis Frederick, and Zach Martin. But outside of that, I mean, Chaz Green, even though he's a Florida Gator, I don't know if he's going to be, a for sure lock at right tackle. And they haven't had really strong play at right tackle. Let's not come and say that Doug Free was like really well holding that Dallas Cowboys offensive line together. But, I mean, Byron Bell, Chaz Green, I mean, there's no real solid option right there. I think Colin Buchanan certainly has enough upside that in the 7th round, he should be a lock to make that roster. Just because of how my draft board came out, he's a very talented offensive lineman and should be on a final 53. And I mean, Dallas is drafted very well, so he'd be a guy that they would be able to pinch out here in the 7th round and come in and compete potentially. I think it'd be a little bit of a stretch to say he could compete for the right tackle spot, especially for being a 7th round pick, but you never know. I think the upside and athletic ability is there, that he could certainly maybe beat out Byron Bell for the top depth spot there at right tackle. So there you go, guys. It's over. We ripped the Band-Aid off. The Dallas Cowboys 7th-round mock draft is over. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. If you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, sure, why not subscribe to the channel? Plenty of nice Eagle videos that you can, try to troll me on. 100 likes on this video, guys, and next episode will be the Green Bay Packers. Hopefully we can do the Green Bay Packers tomorrow. If you guys only hit those 100 likes. But it's going to be tough on this one, I think, because a lot of people are just going to shit on the Cowboys. But who knows? So thank you guys for watching. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.